just seen the tag come up live. So, good evening. Welcome to Behind Closed Doors with myself, Alan Merritt, the fellow behind me with his camera there on the streets. So, big evening to everybody. So, I'm just going to have a look to see if Billy's coming, because we've got a good one tonight with PAG UK. Brilliant campaigner is our Billy. And hopefully he's going to join me if he's already in there. Let's have a look to see if he's in there. Alan Merritt, Spear throws in. Hi, Spear. Nice to see you early, Spear. Spear's in there. Roy Pearce is in there. Roy's pretty punctual. Always on the money, old Roy. He's there like a shot. So good evening, Roy. Good evening, Spear. So we're just waiting for Billy to come in from Rochdale. We're going to discuss a little bit about Rochdale and the Saturdays. Oh, here he is. He's here now. Let's get him in. Let's get Billy in. Right, just clicked on for Billy to come in. So he should be joining us any minute now. Billy will probably notice he's unmuted. So Billy, you're getting too good at this, mate, because you're unmuted yourself. Just going to say, you'll find at the bottom a little microphone where you can unmute yourself. Who's that fella there behind me? Can you see that backdrop?
Big Al.
Yeah, there's me on the streets doing that. I just got a different backdrop. Amazon made that, actually. It was only for about 15 quid. I thought.
Yeah, it's good. It looks good.
Yeah, so
looks
yeah,
good.
you see me there on the streets doing what
It's very quiet.
I try to do what I can. So thank you, Billy, for joining us tonight. As I brought you on basically because I really want to talk about Rochdale. Okay, we had Telford at the weekend. We're hoping that we get a good turnout this Saturday because we've got another demonstration this weekend. And Rochdale is an issue, a big issue. It's been going on, I don't know, it's a dozen years, is it, Billy?
37.
You joking?
Well, yeah, it goes back to the 60s if you count Cambridge House.
Wow, that's disgraceful. Right, so I remember Andy Burnham. Now, I've got no love lost for Andy Burnham as a politician in the first place. Didn't particularly like him. He came across as a typical politician. Knows it all, but knows fuck all. And sorry to be blunt, but that is my terminology with guys like him. He stands at a podium as if he's won a moral victory. And in fact, he did nothing when he was in office. We've been outside his offices in Manchester.
Lee, I think it was.
I'll bring you in, Billy. So introduce yourself, Billy. Let people know who you are, about your shop in town and so on and so forth. What you've been campaigning for many, many years. And the good news is that you might now be able to make a difference as a politician yourself or a councillor.
Yeah. So I'm Billy Howarth. I'm founder of Parents Against Grooming UK. I've been fighting this fight for at least 15 years. I am a survivor myself. So for many years I've been banging the drum. For 5 or 6 years I had a lady beside me called Linda Phillips, who's no longer with us. We was fighting on behalf of the No View boys, who was abused by Cyril and his friends at No View School. I still support them lads today, many of them. I was related to some, and I lost someone who were very close with, who took their own life because of it. So that was the spearhead for that, which led us to the ICSA inquiry. So we said this stuff for 5 or 6 years previous. Then out came the ICSA inquiry, vindicating what we'd said and showed us like what we said was actually true. It was covered up till to this day, and we're 35 years down the line. I think they closed in 97, and there's still not one person being arrested or charged with any offence of the abuse of over 600 boys.
Wow.
That was the beginning for me.
That is... God, the numbers are just off the Richter scale. I mean, that is just unbelievable. But
yes, it is.
Nobody is. Do you know what pisses me off, Bill? Is the fact that the police do nothing. The courts do nothing. The councils do nothing. And they're all part of the mixture. The politicians, the councillors, the lot of them, and it's been that way for such a long time. You know, if I turn around and said to you, I've written to every single politician, every one of them, not only Labour but Conservative. I've been in the Home Office. I've been in the Parliament. I've stood outside Parliament. I've been like this guy behind me, walking the streets of London, trying to be heard. I've shouted from the highest of highs. I've shone that beacon. You know, nobody sees it and nobody hears you. It's when it comes to people of authority, and nothing gets done for our children. Yet we can house all these people coming across into this country and give them 24/7 care, give them a carer duty, right? Whilst our children are all placed in harm's way. How does that bloody work?
Well, today's social care is mostly done privately now by most councils, Alan. And the ones that I know of in Rochdale are quite good quality of care. But then there's the council homes. Yeah. And they're not so much. Do you know what I mean? They're not so much. That's where we see a lot of the problems. But going back to what you just said, you can scream and shout at these politicians. I know the answer to why they don't listen, because each and every one of them, I think, knows someone.
Yeah.
Is a paedophile.
Yeah. Bang on.
Rumours all over. Maybe if I'm elected, I might hear of it.
Yeah. Do you know that? I mean, when you say that, and we've covered the likes of Dolphin Square in London. We talked about the Elms Guest House in London, and we've talked fundamentally about the paedophile ring in Westminster, or Westminster, right? Which is behind that screen. But politicians from day dot have been involved in this, right? In child abuse to such an extent. I know where you're coming from, where everything now with our councils is not run for the people, by the people anymore. It's all private company and all about commerce and money and making money. We can go down that road, we can talk about that, but we really, really want to concentrate on how bad this is in Rochdale, because you've been involved in this a long, long time.
Yes, sir. So let me recap. That's just one case. There was a case before that, was what was called Cambridge House, which is where Cyril was operating to begin with. A lot of boys was abused there. But I'm going to fast forward to the 3 girls scandal. I hate the word 3 girls. Something that's always grated me, because there was 49 girls.
Yeah.
Now, for years, I've been banging the drum about that case, Operation Span, and Operation Augusta. And I was telling you everything about what was being done, which has now just been released by the GMC review, which is available at the website, and you can read. Great Manchester Police and Rochdale Council left these girls at the mercy of groomers by failures. Now, what people are not aware of at the moment now, which I have said, and you've seen me say at my previous demos, at this moment in time, Operation Lytton has 46 men on bail in Rochdale awaiting trial for abusing children. So, and then there was another grooming gang of 9 men that was convicted just after the Rochdale grooming scandal. There was another one following it. So that's 5 major scandals in the last 35 years here in Rochdale, last 40 years in Rochdale, but not one arrest of authority of those people who turned a blind eye. So they call them failures, and I won't accept that no more. They're not failures, that's complicity.
Yeah, bang on. Absolute complicit, yeah. I said that when I was in Telford, I had my drone on the floor, and I was going to launch it, but I was waiting for the right window, right kind of picture it, basically. Waiting for the right kind of thing to launch it. I was filming with handheld, and I wanted to get aerial footage, kind of to marry it up a little bit and put it on my wall. And these coppers were standing behind me and watching me, and like so on and so forth. Obviously making remarks. Have you got a license for that? blah, blah, blah. You covered to do all that and blah, 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 blah. I said, look, all you need to know is the ID number on the back of that drone is what it's all about. And I turned around and said, you talk about certain things, but have you ever got, when you start chewing the fat and I started talking to him and I said, have you ever known a bad cop? Because they come out with this old malarkey. Oh, I can't say anything. I am not committal. I can't. I'm impartial. In all that bollocks, which judges are supposed to be part of, as their 6 Nolan principles and Bangalore principles. But it never happens because at the end of the day, they are complicit by uniform. They've seen it all before. They've done it. They've been there. And you're not telling me that the foot soldiers that are on the ground with them, right, aren't part of it. It's like the councils, the people that work in the council offices, they're not a part of what goes on.
That's it. It's ignorance.
Yeah,
to accept that you've got to do something as a human being when it comes to the abuse of children.
Yeah. So
if you ignore it, it's not your problem. And that's what we're seeing today. And something else as well. There was a memo from Gordon Brown when he was Prime Minister. These girls' chaotic lifestyles were the reason for their own abuse. That's the kind of attitude from Westminster when it comes to stuff like this. They think they're above accountability, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm standing. They've not met no one like me before. They're not going to like me. I don't want them to like me. But accountability is a must for Rochdale to move on. We need accountability first, and we need reform. So there'll be some choices given to the council if I'm elected that they either have accountability and they construct accountability themselves. And because every town needs a council, Alan. Every council needs council. So I want to make sure they're getting what they need to do the job correctly. And those that didn't get held to account for not doing so, because it led to the complicity and abuse of children there and after.
Hypothetically, Billy, I've been a kind of guy that's turned around and said, people like myself, for argument's sake, that are an abuse survivor, we know your background, God bless you, and you're like me, you'll go out there on the streets and you'll campaign till the cows come home and start shouting like I do. We are very, very much a lot hands-on on the streets. And I would think people like ourselves would make the right people to have in a political party that know full well what it's like to be a survivor. I hate the terminology victim. It was never their fault or our fault, right?
Yeah, I hate the word too.
Yeah, I hate that word. Hate is a horrible word as well. But at the end of the day, why don't they have people, hypothetically speaking, nurses that have worked in the nursing industry or been nurses, matrons, whatever the case be, doctors, working in the in the health department, people from abusive backgrounds, something like that, or have been in the system or whatever the case, as long as they're validated or whatever the case might be, and they stand by their morals and whatever, and their track record speaks for itself, they should be on. Why is it something like the IGSA inquiry, the child abuse inquiry? All them people were either policemen, ex-politicians, or still remaining politicians, judges, police officers. Those are the people that were doing nothing. So how is it going to change?
Accountability. It's the only way forward.
Yeah, but go on, Bill.
Until you put these people in dock, it will continue. It won't change. So what we need to do is that us people need to say, we want these people held to account and to be put into the dock. That's what needs to happen if it's to change and it's to stop. Take the pensions. Stop them from working in public office again. Yeah. That's the only way. It's a mountain, but someone's got to climb it, haven't they?
Yeah, bang on. Just to let people know, we've done something different tonight. What I've done is the link is in Facebook. So this is going out live on Facebook as we are speaking, Billy. So we've got to be on best behaviour and so on and so forth. So while I was while Billy was talking, I was messing about on my phone. I actually copied the link and put it out straight on Facebook. So this is actually going live as we are live on the Wake Up platform. This is going out live now on Facebook, and we share to many other platforms. What I want to do, Billy, is tell people out there how bad this. Look, people talk about. This is all over the country, Billy. We know how bad it is in certain towns and cities all over the country. And Rochdale has been like it for such a long time. Now, there's a guy that stands up and he tell us a little bit more about the Andy Burnhams and if it wasn't for the likes, I believe, of Maggie Oliver, and there were a few other people involved, Andy Burnham would never have done anything, would he?
I don't think he's capable. He's a party man. He wants to one day be Prime Minister. That's it. That's his end game, Prime Minister. So if the party said do this, do that, he does it. So I don't think he doesn't do it because he don't want to do it, because he sometimes looks like he's going to do it, but he doesn't. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think he's a puppet.
Yeah, yes, man.
Yeah, I think he's a party puppet.
Yeah, just
because he wants to leave.
Basically, we've heard that saying before.
Sorry?
Follows the party line like most of them do. What I can't get my head around is every politician that I can think of in my lifetime, right? Any one of them, their kind of cabinet, if you like to say it, one for their cabinet. You look at the people that served under the likes of Thatcher, Blair, Wilson, you name any politician, Theresa May, Gordon Brown, their cabinet was full of paedophiles.
Heath.
Yeah, Ted Heath. We've said that the Jeremy Forbes, the Leon Britons, the Cyril Smiths. I actually think I heard there are 65 MPs at this very moment in time today. 65 MPs today are being investigated for crimes against children or sex abuse offences. 65 in Parliament today, right?
What, 700?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what they say. Over the years, when you look up how many, and when they talk about the paedophile ring, they claim didn't exist, which we know does, because we've actually seen it. There are people's testimonies, and we're talking about the courts a little while ago. But when we talk about the courts, and we're talking about this with Charles last night about the Nolan principles and the Bangalore principles, about the 6 principles of a judiciary and what a judge is supposed to adhere to, right? Integrity, things like that, honestness, and so things like that, and to be truthful, right, and impartiality and stuff like that. But they don't show none of that. When they're in the courtroom, it's almost like they're the captain of that ship, and whatever happens, right, it will be steered and run the way that particular judge wants it. You can't bark up, you can't say anything, you can't do this, you can't do that. And at the end of the day, they expect us to accept every judgment they make. And they don't. They don't. Why aren't these people brought to trial? Why aren't these politicians prosecuted? Because the judge, John Wedger, a friend of mine, was told, John, you're getting too close to home. Shut the fuck up. Basically, that was the approach. They turned around the likes of Chris Dick, who was his boss at the time, who was commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, and he had his own departmental bosses and so on and so forth. He was too successful. How you can be too successful at a job, I don't know. But he was so successful, more successful than his predecessor. He was finding these paedophiles. But the paedophiles were coming back to a certain building. And they didn't like it, Billy.
No. You know, one of the things that gets me, Maggie Oliver.
Yeah.
Right? The government and the oppositions are quick to put her on a pedestal saying Maggie Oliver, but why don't they listen to what she's actually saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying, Alan? They don't listen to what she says. She's telling you the truth. This was covered up.
Maggie Oliver. Maggie Oliver and John Wedger are both ex-detectives for Greater Manchester Police and the Metropolitan Police. Know each other. They tried the same thing with John Wedger. They threw him under the bus and all that like that because he was getting too close to home. He was naming people. They didn't want to know. Some of the child abuse inquiries is they want to know who's involved and what's involved rather than finding the actual culprits of who or the perpetrators of actually committed the crimes in the first place. And that's what it's all about. You know, not to find out what's involved or who's involved. And Maggie Oliver got into a lot of trouble because I don't think she actually took legal action. And she got herself into a lot of debt. And I believe from what people were talking about, John Wedger and his John Wedger Foundation and the money raised, blah, 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 blah. I think John helped Maggie Oliver out from the John Wedger Foundation to help her court cases and her costs. And it was people like them that would try. Because John always says to me, the bright lights of these arcades and things like that, or bright lights attract children to these places that are wrong places to go, right? We've seen them standing outside shop corners, brightly lit, because it's somewhere to go, somewhere bright. You know, they're not standing in the dark and they can see what they're doing, so on and so forth. It's an attraction for grooming gangs to pick them off the streets. John said the waterways, the canals and stuff like that go all over the country are an attraction to children. They go on these longboats or go to look at these longboats and the waterways and they're snatched by these grooming gangs because it's almost like a mouse or a rat trap. It's like a baited trap for these kiddies because they're fascinated by what they see. They go along there and they're never seen again, Billy.
Right. Very well. I'm constantly putting the message out, don't let your children out of your sight, ever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the line of defence is broken as much as it is, then us as parents are the last line in our children's defence, and we've got to start taking it very seriously.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I don't know what it is nowadays, how it's hard enough being a parent. I would, hasten to guess that, with trying to live your own life and your children's and welfare and so forth, and doing everything like taking them to school, picking them up to school, making sure they're fed, clothed, whatever the case might be. It's difficult to keep your eye on them 24/7. And with the way we've got technology now, kids are never off of these, right? And it's amazing what this has done to people's lives today.
Well, the statistics are 90% of grooming is done online.
Wow.
90%. That's the number it's at, 90%. So you can imagine of all the abuse cases we hear what are not online, how actually the numbers really are.
But why don't they ever put these statistics out there, Billy? I mean, why don't they turn around and go after these people that are the bad guys? Why don't we see more politicians, these corrupt politicians that are a part of this? It's like when I was in Telford and there are people that are involved, they almost get protected by the police and the courts.
It's a question and we'd love to know the answer to, isn't it? How can any human being knowingly not do nothing about a child being abused? I can't fathom it. So whether it's for politics, whether it's for any other reason, really, I don't understand why they would. And normal people like me and you can't.
No.
So.
And we're out there speaking. Now, you're a brilliant campaigner. You've been doing this such a long time. Before I actually came on the scene, you were doing this. You've got your own little shop, and you try to, your awareness and what you do, and you're actually really, really good on the microphone as well, and you speak so well. Now, I don't know if you've got a list of speakers for Saturday. Let's dive into a little bit about Saturday. You've got a protest this Saturday. I'll make a little video of where the bus station is and kind of around about the area that the protests are going to be. Just let people know how to get there, where it is, exact time, and a little bit more about this Saturday and what the aim is for this Saturday, because we've had this inquiry come out now. Just tell us a little bit more about it.
So, upon the release of the GMCA review into Operation Span, where they've actually, the two people who did the inquiry have come out and turned over every brick, apparently, and Watts and all have been, the council knew and did nothing, the police knew and did nothing, but they're sorry, let's move on. And I, for that reason, immediately the day after that, after I've read the report, I've never been as angry in my life, because I could go back now and watch all the videos I've made over the last 15 years, and everything I've said is in that report. So I thought, I wasn't going to actually. Obviously I was plotting what to do next, and we was looking at redoing the Manchester one that got cancelled because of the Palestine march.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we was looking at rescheduling that, but then the review happened. So it was actually Rochdale Public that said, Billy, get down there and get a protest going, because that's bang out of order. It was vindication for me because it's everything that I'd said, but the town's now fuming.
Really?
Yeah, the town's living. Every conversation I've had over the last 2 weeks on the high street has been, I can't believe that, Billy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what cringed me is to see Andy Burnham, right, standing at a lectern, right, standing in front of that lectern, making a speech on some sort of glory trail, as if he was the great white knight, that he was the saviour, and he did what he could for this, when in actual fact, how on earth did people manage to put him up on that podium or in front of that lectern to be able to speak? Because he was part of the problem.
Yeah, well, he was the overlord, and the one before him was the overlord. They've got to pay the iron price. They've got to pay the price of accountability, along with the chief of the police that they selected at the time. And I'm talking about your Hopkins. I'm talking about, I forgot his name now. He'll be happy with that, won't he? I forgot Hopkins.
It'll come to you. It'll come to you, Billy. It'll come to you.
Yeah, too many names.
Yeah, so, you...
Peter Farty.
Say again.
Sorry, I had to get that out, Alan. Sorry. Peter Farty, and he's the worst one of all for me.
Wow. And what's his role? What's kind of...
He was Tony Lloyd's chief of police for Greater Manchester during the grooming scandals. He's the one that sat at the table in Rochdale Police Station and reverbed Gordon Brown's line, "These girls' chaotic lifestyles when the reason for their own abuse."
Oh man, that's disgraceful. Do you know, you almost want to shed a tear and get emotionally, thinking of them poor, I nearly said victims, and it's one thing I hate using, them poor kids that went through all of this, and what torture and torment. What people don't understand, Billy, is that this, you know as well as I do, this lives with you forever. It's in your head.
Never goes away. Never goes away.
And I know years and years ago, a doctor said to me one day, he said, "You've got issues. Kind of, you're hyperactive, you speak fast, blah, 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 blah. You've got issues, underlying issues." I recommended seeing a shrink or whatever the case might be. I saw a shrink, and the shrink said to me, "There's nothing wrong with you." He said, "Well, there is something wrong." Well, I know I'm fucking barking, but at the end of the day, he turned around and said, "The only thing wrong with you is that your memory will never let you forget." And that memory will play tricks on you. It will play night tremors. Those will come towards you, all part of that memory, all part of that sleep pattern where you go somewhere deep, and that deep can lead you back to your childhood and to some of the horrors that you went through in your life. And that dark alleyway that you walked through, and you was often looking over your shoulder, and them beasts that jumped out on you were still in your head. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I carried it slightly different. Now I spent the ages from about 14 to about 19 just being the angriest person on the planet. I probably took it out on the people around me at the time. For that, I can only apologise, but that's what untreated trauma does. Now, it's the fire that feeds the belly.
Yeah.
It's the fire that feeds the inner beast for this fight ahead.
Do you know, Bill, that is funny because you've heard me actually say it. I've used the terminology when I'm standing up there speaking at a microphone, and I know what you're going to do Saturday. You're going to turn around and say, Alan, and you're going to ask me to stand up there. I know you will. You always do. You always get me and say, Alan, when Alan Merritt, a child abuse survivor, have a few words. And the thing that gets me that is the little boy in me was so controlled. I often say, and you've heard me say it, the man inside me will speak for that little boy that couldn't be heard.
Yeah, it's an iconic quote, to be honest, because I watched a court case a couple of years ago, or I know of a court case a couple of years ago, where the witness felt the jury was looking at a 6 foot, 150, 60 pound guy, thinking, "Hey, was you abused? Look at the size of you."
Yeah.
Do you know? But what they're not seeing is the little boy that was. Do you know what I mean? And that's a problem as well. And that's why we also, apart from fighting these paedophiles, apart from fighting the establishment for accountability, we raise a lot of our, because that's key. Education is key. By raising awareness so people know, A, what they're looking for, the signs, and how to help. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we've got to do. That's why we do what we do. That's why these podcasts exist, to empower others.
Yeah.
I'm empowered. I don't need to be empowered anymore by somebody else. I'm empowered. I want to empower others. I want others to know I'm here to help you.
You're very good at it because I've seen you. I've seen your passion. I've seen the beast in you that wants to get it out there, wants to try and stop this from happening to other children. And like you say, it still continues this day. And where we are under the screen there, Billy, if you have a look, you can see my controls might be slightly different to yours, but you've got like a little bubble. You've got the signal. You've got some people, 2 people. 11 people watching, and that bubble is the chat. And Sophie says it does get you emotional. And when you hear the innocent children are being abused, it's so many ways. It makes my heart hurt. Bless the children, and it seems shames me to say there will be more. It haunts me knowing this. And that was from Sophie in the chat. And I'll keep my eye on that. Delroy's in, so hi to Delroy, Sophia, and everybody joining. There's 11 of you actually in the wake up chat. So thank you guys for joining me. I think Billy's just dropped out, has he? He might have hit the wrong button, but let's see if I can get Billy back in. Let me go back into participants. Let's see if I can get Billy back in. No, Billy, you come back in.
Yeah, I'm not touching any more buttons.
Yeah, I've done that before. Now, I hit the wrong button and it straight away throws you out. I've done that. Instead of hitting the top button to come back, I hit the bottom button and it threw me out. But yeah, I've done that myself many, many times. So, a little bit about Saturday. Give Saturday a bit of a big up, Billy. Tell us, we know what a brilliant campaigner and I've listened to the passion in your voice, and it kind of like echoes and haunts me when I hear you because you're almost faultless in your approach and your mannerism, and the way that you put everything across is kind of like so well worked on. I know you've been doing it a long time, and whether it just comes naturally or at the end of the day, we're doing it for our children.
Alan, I'll be honest, mate. Have you ever seen me hold a speech and read from a speech? Everything I say comes from here and here. Yeah, honest to God, I rehearse nothing. It just comes.
And that's strange because I'm a bit like that. People sometimes say, when I get caught on a hop, because sometimes you feel like I need to get up and say something. You hear people speaking, you hear certain things, and you think, no, I need to get up there and speak as a child that was put in a predicament. And I hate that lessons have been learned scenario that they kind of come out with and turn around and say, well, lessons have been learned. In other words, what they're trying to say is, lessons have been learned, we move on. In actual fact, let's fob them off, tell them something that we feel that they want to hear, which isn't feasible in any sense of them. Do you know where I'm coming from, Billy?
Yeah. So at the moment, I've got a lot to say on that, but at the moment, because of Purdah, I've got to be very careful. But what I will say is I went to see a former MP of Rochdale, and the message he gave me, this was on the Monday, was lessons have been learned. The landscaping safeguarding the children in Rochdale has changed since 2012 and it'll never happen again. I went across to the police station to meet the chief inspector the day after. He said to me, Billy, listen, lessons have been learned. The landscaping and the abuse of children in Rochdale has changed. And then I went to meet someone else at the council, and for the third time in 4 days, I heard the same line read back to me. Do you know what I mean? It says to me, bullshit.
Pretty scripted.
Proves it, doesn't it?
Oh man, that is disgraceful. That goes to show when we're talking about complicity, right? How complicit they all are. Why would anybody want to hurt a vulnerable young child inferior to an adult? I don't care what anybody thinks or says. You haven't got the power. They can overpower you, and it just sickens me that our politicians, right, do nothing about our own people. You know, our own people and our children must always come first. But they don't, Billy.
For some reason, Alan, we'll never be able to understand it, and that's why I'd never ever stand for a political party. Is it seems to be party before people, and it doesn't matter which party it is. It's party before people. If a party's guilty of allowing something to happen, then it's got to protect it and cover it up to protect the reputation of the party. Party is God. Party's cash. Party's king.
And like yourself, you know, coming from a background like myself, you know, I still don my Justice for Beach Home survivors. Now, these guys, I put out a video earlier on I'd done, and we'll put some music to the back of it, some quite haunting, harrowing kind of music to it to sort of make it more sort of gluified, sticky together to sort of like more at you to get you. And all the kiddies that are in that video, they didn't get justice. Not one of them. You know, and some of them took their own lives, Billy. Some of them committed suicide, right? Some of them were physically, sexually, mentally, affected for the rest of their life, you know? They went on to end up committing crimes. They probably went on to be abusers themselves for being abused in the state system. You know, I know a lot of it's run by private companies now, and the private companies, you know, they've not got professional people running them, Billy. They attract people on low wages that don't know how, haven't got the first inkling, or haven't got kids of their own, and don't know even how to look after children. But it's almost like a sweet shop to a paedophile.
So here's my view, and it's kind of like no view, isn't it? That's exactly kind of like if you hadn't mentioned the name of the place first, you could have been describing no view. Back then, it was a naughty boys' school, but do you know what it would have been today? Today, it'd have been a special needs school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something a lot of people.
What they did.
Oh, I know, Billy. I know. Listen, I'm going to come to that because where you had, okay, let's put it in a different kind of terminology. Where you've got a police station, you normally have a court nearby. Or sometimes you have a police station where the cells are built underneath and you come straight up into the court the next day or whenever they're going to put you in court, normally on the next day, if you're charged or if you have the weekend, the Monday morning. So where you had children's homes, inevitably, you had mental institutions or mental homes. And some of them children right? Like you said, right? They put them in mental institutions to try and shut them up for speaking out. Because kids
And prison.
and prisons as well. You know, you went, well, yeah, because they turned around. If you was, they said to me, Jeffrey Banner bounced me off his knee in a perverse way because I went to the police and told them that I was being abused in Beecham. They took me back in a Black Mariah, right? Take no heed to what a child was saying, you know. You shouldn't be talking about your elders like that, so on and so forth. He bounced me off his knee in a perverse way. He said, little boys like you, I always remember certain things, Billy, because they stand out so prominently in my life. And the thing that he turned around and said to me is like, little boys like you get sent away. So he was threatened to Stanford House or somewhere like that. A very, very bad ball storm.
I call it institutional abuse after the fact of the abuse they suffered as children. They then get institutionally abused because they're locked up for long times for petty offences, which, you know, for example, Abdul Roof gets 6 years, he's 82 years, 9 months. But guy who hit an old lady on a bike gets 8 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I mean, if you, okay, let's put it a different way. If you rob, say the Queen's Head when it was Elizabeth Regina, rather than Rex, what we've got now. If you rob anything to do with money, the commerce, or anything like that, you're going to do more bird than you do if you harm somebody.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. The laws in this country, the judiciary is completely and utterly broken.
I absolutely agree. And how do we fix it? So I'm not just a person, and I have been for a long time, who's good at highlighting the problems, but I'm also a person that has sort of some solutions. So going forward, that's what I'm going to be looking at trying.
So what prompted you, Billy? I mean, I know what a brilliant campaigner you are. I know what a good speaker you are. I've known you for a few years now. And hence we get on well. You've come on the show. It's not the first time we've worked together and we've done a show together. But what prompted you? Kind of like you're looking through rose-tinted glasses and you think, hang on, I can't see clearly here, or I've seen enough. I've got to do something myself. I'm going to stand for a council, or I'm going to stand as a councillor or an independent, or whatever the case might be. Tell us a little bit more about that, Billy.
The GMCA review was the final straw. I've thought about it in the past, and I thought, shall I stand for council? But then I thought, well, I'd get more, me, just one person in the council, not going to make any difference. I get more done with PAG UK. So I stayed and done PAG UK, did it my way. But this one, like I said, I've got to be careful what I say at the moment. I don't like it, and I'm going to end up getting myself in trouble because I'm not good at it. But I thought there's not going to be a better time than now to take back our town and to have accountability and to have a look at what's gone wrong. Now, everyone will say, oh, it's just a one issue, but one trick ponies. There's only on one issue, which is the abuse. I've also, for those that know me, have seen me working with the families of damp and mould.
Yeah.
Where I have a young child in Rochdale passed away through the damp and mould. It was on the national news, everybody saw it. So I held a meeting with all these people to help them get this fixed. I'm still working with some of these people, and I've still got to reach out to some of the other people that were involved to try and get their issues fixed. So I've been prominent in the fight for that with Rochdale Borough Housing. So it's a lot. Like you've seen the hub. We feed the homeless. We distribute food pamphlets to people under the bread line. We've also done Christmas grottos. We've also done Halloween parties for the kids, safe Easter eggs, you know. So we do a lot of community work besides what we actually do with PAG UK.
And you've donned an elf uniform, a Father Christmas costume, and you've played your part to try and make it something different, something special for them. Now, it's just ironic that what we see today, and you're talking about Now, is the council still running the housing situation, or is it kind of more like we were talking with the privatisation just gone through the roof? Everything's been sold off. What we're paying council tax for, I don't know, because it's all commerce and commercialised and all about money nowadays. And, I remember Lincolnshire County Council, when they were selling their businesses off, I think a private company took it over and made £11 million in the first year of running it. And I thought, hang on a minute, if they can make £11 million, why isn't it in the public purse?
So RBH is a separate entity to Rochdale Council.
Right. Is that like a housing association?
But the duty of care of Rochdale's residents is the responsibility of Rochdale Council. Therefore, if someone's living in a property that's unfit for livability and it's making people poorly, it is Rochdale Council's duty to come in and say, nah, you've got to do this. And then that's what they're guilty of not doing.
Because I'm trying to think as you're speaking there, because a good friend of mine, the guys know her, Sue Pink, a fellow beach home survivor, her house, the water cascades down the inside of the wall. The mould, the damp. They've got 2 humidifiers in there, even to this day, still pumping out water from the place. The house is not fit to live in, and yet the council just turned. Sorry?
Make no mistake, make no bones about it. Damp and mould is one of the biggest killers in elderly people in the UK.
Yeah. And she's got emphysema anyway, and she's got, bad issues and problems. And I said to him, look, you've got to tell these people you want moving. And they turned around and said they've got no other places for them. And I said, well, wait a minute. Exactly. And I turned around and said, but she's got two of her grandsons living with her. It's kind of like a bit awkward, so on and so forth. Can she get in and out? They did offer her some place, I think it was, and she couldn't even get a mobility scooter anywhere near the place. It wasn't disability friendly. The whole thing is just like, where do you bang your head against that proverbial brick wall, Billy? Because there are so many challenges, Billy. And then you're going to face all these challenges. And you're going to get people turn around and actually say, look at me, talking as if I've been there. You're going to get people turn around and say, well, Billy, we don't actually do it this way. We actually do it, this is the way we normally do. This is the road we normally go down. And we kind of have some kind of running order, which we do. And, if you're going to, we actually, do you know what I mean? The old school still stands, doesn't it? The old kind of like school tie is still a big establishment within councils. There's a hierarchy,
So until people like me and you start standing for these political roles, we have to tell them when we do, school's out, time for new school. That's us. A different way. The purveyors of good taste have got to go.
Do you realise it's not going to be a popularity contest? Because at the end of the day, when you're going to probably shake some things to the core. You're going to make some. I believe you personally are going to. I don't know about making enemies, but you're going to make people look at you, and you're going to make people aware that the way you did it isn't the way it should be done.
That's it. So I don't have a party behind me. I don't have leaflets. I can't afford them. I'm going off a shoestring. Well, I'm going to do it by getting out on the streets and speaking to the people. I'm going to show them we can do it on a zero budget when all these big parties are spending hundreds of thousands, having big teams going knocking on people's door. Last thing you want when you meet your tea is a politician at your door asking you to vote. So I'll speak to them on social media. I'll hit the high street. My people, Rochdale's a 40% no vote. What they're underestimating is that 40% are Rochdalians. That 40% are my people. And I only need them 40% to get elected. I don't need none of the others.
You are a popular man in your hometown. How are you born and bred, or have you always lived there, or how long?
Yeah. If you cut me, I bleed Rochdale blood.
That's a good way of putting it. So you are a long-term prisoner of your own surrounds. And
Don't get me wrong, Alan. This is, to me, the greatest town on the planet. The people are awesome. It's picturesque. It looks lovely.
Yeah.
The history behind it was a lot of good things about Rochdale, but everybody knows us for what.
yeah,
The worst insult I can hear is, "Oh, you're from Rapedale." It grates me so badly, but they're right.
wow. I've never heard that term before. That's quite
I've heard it a lot of times.
Rapedale.
It's one of me. I hate the word. I hate the word.
Rapedale. That is quite alarming to actually hear that. Does that make you shudder? You know, does it make you, God, you know, you cringe? That
It used to, but again, it's now the fire that feeds the belly.
you are so determined at this, Billy, aren't you? You really, really are determined to make a difference, to actually get out there and do something. Do you know what? What it is we've got to stop the rot from within, because that's where it is at the moment. You know, they've had it too comfortable for too long. They've done what they want to do. They've done it their way. They've lined their pockets for a long, long time. You know, and presumably there is a brown envelope brigade somewhere where certain people are winning contracts and they look after their own, and the actual politics isn't part of it. It's what they can get out of it.
So, we talk about fire that feeds the gut, Alan. You remember Linda Phillips?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. Linda, yeah.
Well, Linda was my right hand. The council called her Mrs. Emerald. She was up their arse that long. I swear to you, Linda was 60-odd-year-old.
Yeah.
Linda had stage 5 cancer, and she stood on a bench outside the Riverside trying to encourage people to follow her inside to have a sit-down protest. And that is all inspiration I'll ever need to see.
Wow, that is one brave woman. That is horrific.
She was, Iron Lady, Maggie Thatcher, now down on this lady. I swear to God, there should be a statue in that town centre of her. She's my all-time hero.
Yeah. You always talk about her.
She's a hero. She's a hero, and she don't get enough credit where credit's due. This lady led the fight in the UK. Again, she fostered over 100 children from all around the world.
Wow.
So to me, yeah, she was my inspiration. She was awesome, and my God, they feared her.
Yeah, I remember, because like you do actually kind of, like nearly every event that I've been to with you, you do either mention her name or somewhere along the lines of the speech, there's some incident that has happened over the years where you've been in a situation with Sarah and you bring her name out and you turn around and say, God bless her, and you talk about her as if she's still with us, if in only memory, but what she achieved.
She is with us through me.
Oh,
she passed the baton to me, and I'll run with it till I can run no more.
Wow. You really have got fire in your belly. But let's come back to the politics of it, or the politicians. Andy Burnham, just tell us a little bit. Give us your perspective of what you think about Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham has no interest in Greater Manchester. He's a blue nose from Everton, Wigan. He's not from Manchester. He has no interest in Manchester itself. He's a puppet. He's a party puppet, and he's on his way out because our boy Nick Buckley for mayor. Nick Buckley for mayor. Then we'll see what they've done. Because then I'm not coming on my own to this election. I'm coming mob-handed with people like Nick Buckley, men all about common sense, men about decency, men about protecting children. That's what I want to see more of. That's who I'm going to vote for.
I was listening to Nick speaking. I think he spoke in Rochdale. I think he spoke in Manchester. I think he spoke Oldham. Sorry, he spoke at 2 or 3 that I know of, I believe.
He's speaking Saturday.
He is very, very good. And Raj, is Raj with us?
Raja cannot attend this time, but we've got Netrangi, you've got yourself. But Alan, this time we've got a lady called Dorothy speaking, but this time, Alan, I've got a lot to say, so I've kept the speakers list quite short.
Listen, if you've got other people that you want to put up there, if you've got a lot to say,
No,
don't worry about me. I will film the whole event. You don't worry about me, because at the end of the day, I can only offer, what I see, where I go in the country, what I hear, and what I'm a part of. Because to me, institutionally, I kind of like got some of it in my blood.
I need you to speak at this event for one reason as well. Well, two that I like you to speak at my events, because I always ask you. But the main reason is there's going to be no view lads there, and they're going to see you speak from Beach Home House, Alan, and they're going to know it's not just us.
Yeah, don't make me start, because, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, brother?
I do get emotional when I do speak, and that was very nice of you to say that, actually. Yeah, that hit me. You bugger, you hit me a raw.
Sorry, Alan.
No, but you know what I'm like.
You're getting me,
and like you, yeah, we are kind of a very emotional guys, but we went through shit. We went through a lot, and it's in our blood, it's in our bones, it's part of our makeup and what we do. Why I carry on doing it is because I was fed up of banging my head up against that proverbial brick wall time and time again and getting nowhere. I had to go out in the streets. I had to go out and run. And I had to watch politicians walk past me and no shame on their face at all. They kind of give you one sort of glance, oh, another protester, and walk on. Instead of stopping and engaging with you and talking to you and saying, yeah, what is it all about? Instead of our MPs turning around as constituency MPs and going to them with your problems and your issues and so on, and them actually standing up for children and saying a public inquiry should be held into the abuse, the historic abuse that went on in that children's home. And them children never ever getting remedy to this very, very day. We can look after everybody else, but we can't even look after our own children. How does that fucking work?
Yeah. So the way it's going to rock and roll here is, if elected, fingers crossed, the council and Andy Burnham, whoever replaces him, will be given an ultimatum. Accountability or special measures. Because I will go to Parliament as a member of Parliament and I will bang my drum so loud you won't believe.
Wow. Right, so what time? Right, so anybody coming on Saturday, we'll give it a big up. Guys, if you're listening to this from all over, if you are anywhere near, and it is beautiful scenery, beautiful country. I mean, you just have to look at your surrounds around you, the hills and the valleys. It's absolutely beautiful scenery, like Billy said. I can understand why he lives there. It is absolutely a beautiful place. I've been there a few times, I've stayed there a few times, and I've spoken with Billy a few times within that region. So it is a lovely place. Now, we're at the bus. Is it that glass building near the bus, between the bus station and that horrible wiggly white line near Marks and Spencer's?
That's correct, yeah. So you've got the big glass riverside building, which is got a bridge over a river. We're on the bridge. That's where we're going to meet. The bus station is to the left, so you can get off the bus in the town centre, and it's right there. Or you can get off the tram in the town centre, and it's right there. So I'll be there from 12 o'clock. So you'll see us. It's easy access. You can get the train from Manchester or the tram from Manchester into Rochdale, or the tram into where we are at the Rochdale stop.
Brilliant. And that's at 1 o'clock, but you're going to be there from 12 o'clock. So I think before now, I've been there about 12 o'clock. You got Rangi speaking as well, which is a good thing because he's quite passionate as well as our Rangi. And he's had a few knocks and falls. but he still comes back. He bounces back, and he's determined to do, like ourselves, something about it instead of just accepting what people were telling us rather than actually doing something.
I was once told by a Rochdale MP, the past is in the past. And I just maybe replied to him, that's fucking easy for you to say.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Billy, thank you ever so much for coming on. We're at the hour mark, so I've got to turn around and say thank you to everybody that's been with us tonight in the chat. It's some really good people. Roy, Sophie, Spear Thrower, Webby's listening in. At one stage I saw Delroy now. Charles was in there. We've got 10, 11 of you in tonight. So thank you, every single one of you. To the people out there, come out and join us and listen to what people are saying. You know, listen to Billy. Listen to what Billy's got to say. Meet people, meet like-minded people who you can speak to, have a conversation with. There's some great people there, and you know, because you've seen most of these people, we either come on the show with myself or you've seen me film them. Rarest friend, like the guy behind me walking down the road with the camera in his hand, filming like I do. That's quite a nice backdrop there. And filming, and the guy even approaching me. There's another guy took a picture of my back there, and I thought, well, I'm going to get some trolls or whatever the case might be. But we do this to try and stop it from happening. The only people that can stop it from happening are the people in Parliament and actually do something. And it's about time politicians stood up and were counted. Thank you so much.
It's about time we had a different breed of politician, and that's the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real people.
100%.
Yeah. Before I go on, I just want to say thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody. I hope I see many of you on Saturday to join us in a stand against child abuse. But always, guys, always check your children's devices. 90% of grooming is online. The dirty buggers don't even need to leave the bedroom anymore.
Wow, thank you, Billy. Thank you, mate. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Billy. I love and respect you so much, my friend. And I will be with you Friday. Hopefully, we may even get a chance for a little pint on Friday evening, have a little bit of chat, just pass the evening. But yeah, guys, if you're anywhere near the area, Rochdale, 1 p.m. this Saturday. Thank you, Billy.
See you soon. Take care, everybody.